So I'm just going to start. Good evening. Thank you for attending this session with us this evening. We're just going to talk about energy saving and tackling climate change. Now, we're looking to make a greener game for the future generations. So why are we doing this? There's many reasons. I think most importantly, we know that tackling climate change and energy costs are actually affecting grassroots run clubs at the moment. And what we want to do is support clubs in reducing their energy costs, but also future-proofing the game for the future. So welcome everyone that's joining this call, and thank you for being part of this important journey. Cricket Wales is committed to environmental sustainability, not just for cost saving, but for the future of our communities and our planet. So those of you on the call this evening were part, or your clubs have been part of our recent energy saving programme, and due to your success on the pitch. So we selected the top 16 to 20 clubs, I can't remember exactly the numbers at the end, that have full All-Stars and Dynamos programs and do junior cricket at every age group, offer an opportunity for women's, girls, but also have open age cricket as well. So firstly, congratulations for doing everything and really take our hats off for everything you do. We want to reward what you're doing. And as a result, we've commissioned the energy saving reports completed by EUSOS. And what I'm going to do today is just walk you through the reports briefly, but what the survey means and how you can act on them and what funding is available. And I think that's the thing that probably attracts most people is what financial benefits can we get from this. So why energy saving and climate action are essential? Well, as you all know, energy costs are rising and impacting clubs hugely. I know in one club that I visited recently, their monthly electricity bill is over £2,000 a month. So to have significant savings, they need to act differently to make significant savings to ensure that their club is sustainable for the future. We obviously can see we just need to look out of the window at the moment, and we understand that climate change is affecting everything we do. We are going through a period of unprecedented dry weather. If we looked at this for the past 2 years, we had, well, the weather is significantly different to the past 2 Aprils and Mays that we've had previously. We're having quite the opposite effect. Last year, there was too much rain, too much water on pitches, and we were delaying seasons. Now we're putting more water. I've heard of grounds managers putting more water on the square in the last 3 weeks than they did in the whole of last season. So we are seeing this evident quite across the board. What can we do and how can we act on it? Ultimately, we know that our club network is vital for the sustainability of cricket. So we want to ensure that we protect our organisations for the long term. And how can we support you? Additionally, we have an opportunity here to lead by example in Welsh sport. There are so many sports that actually aren't taking environmental sustainability as one of their kind of key actions. And at Cricket Wales, we do want to be leading the way in this area. So, which kind of takes me on to the survey. So we completed a very small pilot in the local authority of Torfaen last year. They only have 4 clubs in the whole local authority, but what we wanted to do is understand the carbon footprint in the local authority of the facilities and actually what mitigations we can take in place to improve that. It was a real success, and hence why we've extended the programme again this year. So you all should have received your reports directly from ESOS, and hopefully you'll have had an opportunity to read them, digest them, start to get a feel of where your organisation is in terms of energy saving and carbon footprint. Now, it's really important to note that the carbon footprint is just of your facility and not your usage. So things like your whatever you buy and those kind of things isn't in this survey. It's purely on your utilities and fabrication of of the building. So what your survey includes is Building fabric conditions. So you'll see as the report goes on, you'll look at things like insulation, your windows, are there any drafts, etc. Your heating and hot water systems, lighting, your energy usage patterns, and recommendations for improvements. And what we can look, how we can look at it then is quick wins can we make? There's some really low cost actions that I think lots of clubs can make by themselves, but also what are the high impact upgrades that you can make? And that's probably where you'll require funding and grant support for that. Also prioritize that fund, prioritize your plan too. We understand that the reports are quite extensive, and Rome wasn't built in a day, and nor energy savings and tackling climate change and recommendations. So how can we make your action plan fit for purpose? So I'm just going to talk you through a little bit of the report. I've got one in front of me. I couldn't put it on the screen for some reason. But if you have got your reports to hand, or I'll just talk through them. So it goes through a bit of an executive summary. And on your executive summary, there's a short table. And I think this is probably the most valuable bit of your energy saving report. It has the energy and decarbonisation recommendations listed in the table. Your estimated annual energy saving if you were to change to some of these methods, what that cost would, the cost saving, the capital cost, and this is just an estimated capital cost. We can get kind of closer throughout the process when you're looking for your solutions, your payback in years, and this would be if you are funding it yourselves and not getting any grant funding, but also the carbon dioxide saving per year in tons. And this is also really interesting to read, but also depending on the grant funder, this is also really, really impactful. So that table is really kind of key to your report. And there's various routes for net zero carbon at your club and some recommendations. And then it talks through the size, the type of use of your facility, how often you use it, the energy procurement review. So who are you utilizing for your utilities currently? Are you looking at a sustainable supplier or not? And do they offset carbon as part of their offering? Then we looked at your energy usage and what that looked like. And then they did some energy profiling. So what was your lighting, heating, hot water, other small power sources, and what was the estimated kind of usage of each of those? So it kind of gives you a really nice breakdown of each of those. But it also will have benchmarked your organisation to others and national organisations too. So then it goes on to more of the detailed recommendations and what will work for you in terms of heating, lighting, and yeah, and basically what would be more sufficient to your organisation. And I think what's really important to note here is every organisation is unique and every organisation is different. If we could just have one size fit it all, and that would be really great, but it doesn't. There are some recommendations in the bottom, and I know this is a standard one in every one of your reports, is around electric vehicle charging points. Now, if anyone is interested in electric vehicle charging points, please can you drop me a separate message to this? We're working with an organisation called the Welsh Sports Association, and they offer a very unique scheme where clubs can rent spaces out or lease spaces out in your car park. So there isn't a financial cost to the club. There's just a return for leasing your spaces out per year. So I can send you more information on that scheme too. Then it talks a little about that offsetting your carbon, but probably I'm not going to talk about that much today. And then it has some schedules of lighting to be replaced or upgrades. So I think everyone's report looks very similar. But as I said, the most important kind of section for me is an executive cut summary and that table. And that starts to form your action plan. So turning our insights into action. So I guess you've had time to review your energy surveys with key decision makers in your club, or if you haven't and you're waiting for this call, I think probably after this call, it's to share it with those key decision makers and look at what you identify and rank and the top recommendations by priority. And start to set some realistic goals, short, medium, long term. As I said, there may be some really cost effective, cheap ways to start reducing your energy usage. For example, putting fridge timers on bottle fridges. Fridge timers cost less than £20, can have a huge impact when you're looking at energy saving. And then it's starting to assign responsibilities and timelines. So and then really prepare your strategy. So it's really looking at that action plan, what's realistic. We know, as I said before, we know that you won't be able to action everything immediately as time goes on, and what can we do? And I share some insights from the projects we did in Torvine. So because you now have this energy saving report, you're now able to make data-led decisions. And this is what grant funders are looking for. Now, in the local authority of Torvine, I know lots of the clubs now have done all of the recommendations on the from their report. Because they have been able to make data-led decisions, they've been able to access so much funding. Now the funders are coming to them, and because they know they've had the report and they're saying, we don't know what to do next. We've done everything that we feel that we possibly can as an organisation. So there is more and more funding available in these areas. If you start small, for me, starting small is the most important step. So doing something, you're actually initiating that action. So as I know, everyone's always really interested in funding to support you help take action. So there's two live funding programs at the moment that Cricket Wales are actively involved in, and we would like to support you with. So there's the Sport Wales Energy Saving Grant, and that launches on the 21st of May. So that launches on Wednesday. And it supports implementations and recommendations from your surveys. And they focus on the high impact upgrades and reducing carbon. But they're really looking at what financial implications and does that make for your organisation. They're obviously looking for the sustainability of our sport. There's also a new scheme from the Welsh Government, which is a Smart Local Energy Systems Grant. And this is up to £10,000. I think it's up to £10,000. Sorry, you'll have to quote me on that one. I didn't write that in my notes. But it supports localized energy generation and management. So things like solar PV, battery storage, etc. And it's ideally for clubs with larger or shared facilities. But you don't have to apply for one or the other. You can do a combination. Apply for both. We are going to circulate the guidance for both schemes for this call. Just to reiterate, we're here to help you with your applications, and the first step of getting any funding or support is the report that you've had completed. I'm sorry, I just realised I didn't introduce my colleague Claudia at the beginning of the call, but she's now going to talk to you about the Sport Wales Energy Saving Grant and eligibility.
Thank you. Good evening, all. So, as Vic sort of touched upon, the Energy Saving Grant helps sports clubs in Wales make improvements that lower energy costs and make their buildings more efficient. But there is an onus on reducing your running costs. In the email that will circulate tomorrow, there's a really nice article that they got all the clubs that received funding last year to do a bit of a write-up about, what went well, their tips and tricks, but also a few stats on, how much money they've saved or the impact. And it's really an interesting look to see across Wales what the impact has been of receiving this grant. So regarding eligibility, so freeholders or leaseholders are able to apply. for leasehold applicants, a minimum of 7 years must be remaining on your lease. At the time of submission, you will need to provide evidence of your lease, and also, if you're a freeholder, confirmation of freeholder consent will be required as well. I would advise getting those documents together, so you've got them all ready to go whilst you're making your application. What you can apply for and the types of projects that they're looking for to fund would be solar panels and storage batteries, insulation, new windows and doors, lighting. This doesn't include floodlights or lighting for playing areas. Better heating and hot water systems. Again, the caveat is not for just catering only purposes. And sustainable water systems. So a note on the sustainable water systems, your energy survey will not have pointed you towards those recommendations to put those, rainwater harvesting methods in. But if you are interested in looking at that as a project, we'd be really keen to discuss it, and Sport Wales are really keen to invest and look at those options as another long-term impact that can be made to your club. So please don't shy away from those. We'd be really keen to talk about them. We also recommend looking at more than one project within your application. So for example, a club did roof insulation, LED lighting and solar panels. Don't feel like you need to just go down the solar panel route. Apply for more so we can look at a broader impact based on your recommendations from your survey. So funding, the maximum award that you can get from this funding would be £25,000. Any successful applicants will be required to contribute a minimum of 20% towards the funding. So it's an 80-20 split, 80% Sport Wales funding and 20% from the club's funds. The cost of your energy survey can be included as part of your contribution. So it's a bit of a positive there for that as well, for the cost of that.
Yes, just to note, energy saving surveys cost £1,200. So you can put that in a line when you're doing your funding contributions as well, and that will need to be included in your application. Sorry to get involved.
No, that's all right. If your application is successful, once you've signed and completed all the documents and got your confirmation, the grant amount will be paid into your specified account, so you can get going with that as soon as possible. The energy survey, as Victoria mentioned, all clubs have received their reports and can utilise the findings to apply for your funding and make more of an informed decision on what type of improvements you'll be applying for. There is a lot of mention in the guidance notes and things about getting your energy survey at a later stage than what you will have. So, we're sort of a step ahead if you've already got your survey, which is a good thing. Quotes. So we recommend getting one quote before submitting your stage 1 application. I'll go through the process stage by stage in the next slide, but get a quote before your stage 1 application. This will then give you an approximate costing for your project. You will be required to provide 3 quotes in total. So, you're getting one to inform your application, basically. So the dates and the process. So Victoria will be holding an online drop-in clinic to discuss potential projects and answer any questions that you have. You can sign up to this in the link that will be circulated tomorrow morning. Submit your expression of interest as soon as possible. What this is a simple online form. The link is on this PowerPoint, you can see it there, and it'll also be in the email. Go online, submit that EOI and pop in for which funding you'll be applying for. So there'll be a selection box to put where you're going for which funding. So for this one, it'd be the energy saving grant. Once you've completed that form, you'll be invited to stage 1 of the application. So this will all be via the Sport Wales online portal. And once you've got that email, you'll be able to, if you haven't already, create an account and you'll be able to access that the whole time throughout your application. As Victoria mentioned, stage 1 opens on Wednesday, the 21st of May at 9 AM. It's open for approximately 5 weeks and closes on the 25th of June at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Stage 1 will be details of the applicant, so eligibility regarding ownership of your club, and providing proof of that. And as we mentioned, that first quote as well, and your energy survey too. The next stage, once you've submitted that, there'll be a review. Your stage 2, if you're invited to stage 2, that will open on the 16th of July at 10 a.m. and stage 2 closes on the 1st of October at 3 o'clock. Final decisions after stage 2 will be made, and you can expect confirmation in late October for this. Once you've got your confirmation and you signed all the documents, project should be completed within 12 months of the grant being received, and your project will need to start before the 31st of March 2026. So that's just sort of a rundown. Obviously, if you have any questions, we can go through them on the one-to-one calls later.
Perfect. Thanks, Claude. That just gives everyone a basic overview of the grant system that's immediately going to open. But just to add just some information to Claudia's great explanation, is that you're already a step ahead of most organisations that will be applying for this funding stream. And most organisations don't have to provide an energy saving report till stage 2, as Sport Wales don't want you to shell out. But we are really, really keen for you to start making informed decisions at stage 1 and to understand your costings as a whole. What we've seen in previous years is that clubs that are applying for stage, they write an indicative cost at stage 1 and the costs rise to stage 2 because they weren't sure what they were actually applying for based on their report. That's why we instigated this process, and so you can start to make really informed decisions at stage 1. So what to do next? I guess it's to review your energy saving survey and to identify priority projects for your organisation. And I prioritise them over a 3-year period. However, you may be able to front quite a lot of them within the 12 to 24 month period. As we've seen in Torfaen, as I explained, lots of those clubs are now coming back saying we don't know what else we can spend the money on, which is a great position to be in. So start drafting your club's energy saving action plan. Please contact Cricket Wales for advice and support. That's what we're here for. We've got the drop-in clinic. If you can't attend that drop-in clinic, there's no problem there. Please just drop me an email and we'll arrange an appropriate time. And then we'll support you with your funding application, so you're not alone during this process. This is a journey that Cricket Wales wants to support your organisation with. So if you need us to review any applications prior to submission, we're happy to do that. And then we want to celebrate your success and progress with you. We think it's a really great opportunity to be doing this with our clubs. And if we can celebrate, then we absolutely will share your stories along the way. As I said, very timely, we're with you every step of the way. We'll provide you a one-to-one support in reading your survey if you need some help navigating that. We can help you with your action planning. We can provide you with guidance and templates for funding applications, but we can also connect you with clubs with trusted partners and suppliers as well. We're currently negotiating some partnerships with solar providers and energy providers. So if there is any support that we can give you from our trusted partners, please let us know. And I think lastly, I just wanted to kind of finish with this slide. A sustainable future starts today. The future depends on what we do in the present. And I'm sure many people on this call want to ensure that there is a future for cricket within our communities. So I'm now happy to take any questions if anybody would like to ask anything. There's only a couple of you on the call, so please just shout out. I'm more than happy to do that.
Have you got any indication of how many years this is going to be running for, Victoria, or is it sort of like a 5-year plan, or
with Sport Wales?
Well, with the grant, the Sports Wales Energy Saving Grant.
Yeah, so the Sport Wales Energy Saving Grant is only an annual grant, and they only know probably about 6 months in advance whether the funding is confirmed. And similar to the Welsh Government one, the Welsh Government one is a one-off fund currently.
Right. Okay.
But there are more grants geared to this kind of theme that we're seeing year on year now. But I can't commit to anything because we just
Yeah.
don't know yet.
Yeah. But
Fine.
if there is any money flashing about, it's likely to be this sort of theme, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
We had a fairly detailed discussion regarding our environmental survey. I read it 6 or 7 times, and some of the others did as well. And you know, picking bits out of it. Then we looked at what had been. There were 97 examples of what had been funded across Wales in various sports for them. But it always struck me that the majority of the money went to solar panels. I mean, if you did a percentage, I'm sure that the percentage was over 65 for solar panels. If solar panels were a no-goer in the sort of club that our club, for example, for a variety of reasons, and the sort of things we would apply for, which we have applied for over the last couple of years, was obviously a change of boiler and heating systems. But there was very little in the surveys or in the examples where clubs had a new boiler, which was something that I didn't totally understand. So have you got any comment on that, Victoria?
Yes, I do. So when clubs normally have the energy saving, the reports returned, boilers tend to come much lower down the kind of recommendations if they can have things like solar panels and insulation, which is why it's important to have the report, and that acts as the baseline. So if I can use some of the cricket examples that where we partnered with the clubs last year in Torfaen. The clubs knew that they would like a new boiler or heating system. Actually, the return on investment for solar panels and the carbon footprint was much bigger to have solar panels rather than a new heating system, and hence why we were keen to get the energy saving reports completed prior to the expression of interest stage, because that was clubs just saying, well, we know solar panels work, we're going to apply for that. The reports then told them in stage 2 that that's what they did, but then they couldn't up what they asked for. So which is why it's important for me to look at the whole report, kind of cost out as many of the elements as possible to give you an indicative cost of a whole project. Now, there may be some projects that we know that roofs aren't stable enough to take solar panels. So therefore, I would very much recommend looking at other elements on your kind of recommendations, or as Claudia mentioned before, the water saving examples. So Sport Wales, I know, are really, really keen to support rainwater harvesting and boreholes. We haven't seen any of those come through the grant application process yet. And we know, for example, this year is unprecedented for how dry we've had the weather recently. But we know we are starting to see trends of this. When we do get dry weather and warm weather, the periods are getting longer and longer. So we know the impact on the ground is more significant. So it is purely bespoke to your project. Just most organisations normally their finger in the air at that expression of interest stage and say they want solar panels. So that's kind of what the funding then needs to commit to. They can't extend their programme to include other elements, which is why we were keen to have the reports at stage 1. The clubs can then see exactly what informed decisions you can make and then action plan moving forward. Does that answer your question, Andrew? Sorry, in a really long way.
Well, yeah, I understand, and I understand the reasons why the last 2 years we've been turned down, but it still begs the question that, you know, we know that we need a new boiler, and we know that the new boiler will then translate into a much bigger project, which is disabled access, because of the size, of the position of the boiler, and then we know we need to change it. It'll reduce our emissions, and we know we need a new heating system in the club. And with that will come disabled access, which, you know, proper disabled access, which is something that I think most clubs should be looking at. I mean, it's something for the future and something to move things on. But yeah, I understand. I'll sign up for the individual thing next week when I get a chance. I go back to the committee and again bring up, there's a few points I've written down, but I still think that we'd have great difficulty with solar panels or heat pumps. The other ones, or some of the stuff I've just seen, like rain water harvesting and boreholes, is a different thing. That's not something I've ever heard of. So we can have a chat about that. But certainly, you've given me some food for thought.
Perfect, thank you. John, Pete, do you have any other questions? No, nothing for you. John?
No, I just think it's thank you for giving your time to explain all that. I just think it's I think the way the world's going at the minute with sustainability and everyone wanted to go green, with us being ahead of the game now, it'll make complete sense to, like you say, go solar, go battery, and try and make it cost effective for us cricketers then to basically survive, because where we are in West Wales, we obviously struggle compared to other places. So if we can go as green as we can, then we're going to be saving money regardless.
Absolutely, and then you can reinvest into the sport and
yeah, we can
make
look up
things more
and then other
accessible.
grants elsewhere. Then we'll have more money, hopefully, then to invest into the cricket side of things with equipment and stuff like that. Then.
Right, so if there's nothing else, I'm going to leave you all go early. As Claudia said earlier, we're going to send the presentation out with the recording, also all of the grant funding information, and also the link to book in some individual calls with myself and Claudia to go through any project specific questions that you have next week. So thank you very much for joining, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you very
Cheers,
much.
Victoria.
Bye,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Thank you very much.